Right then, welcome to Happy Hungry Hibby and also Happy Harvey Hibby. Yes, my little Doxy Poo. Yes, he looks like a puppy, but he's actually a bit of a, well, he is an adult. He's a teenager, aren't you, Harvey? He's now about 1.5 years old. He's become quite a little character. He's just keeping a lookout for Mummy because she's actually on her way home. But anyway, yes, back to my latest video, and what I've really been anticipating covering is the cookbook review from yours truly, Sami Tamimi. Now, for those of you who don't know Sami, he's actually a very humble chef and stays out of the under the radar. Really, is unbelievable because he's actually been involved in a lot of cookbooks and a lot of Ottolenghi's work over the past 2 decades. And I also want to go through some of his previous cookbooks as well. As you can see here, everyone seems to think it all started off with Jerusalem, but as a matter of fact, it didn't. He also co-authored with Ottolenghi in this, which is the Ottolenghi Cookbook. The original Ottolenghi Cookbook was actually published in 2008, and it was on the back of Ottolenghi setting up his delis in London, which still are there to this day on top of his restaurants. But this book is absolutely brilliant, and it goes back to just that really sort of core Middle Eastern cuisine where they're using sort of core ingredients, just bringing some of the really sort of innovative recipes with that inspiration of things like tahini and also preserved lemon, which it sounds so basic, but it just really does give that sort of Middle Eastern influence. But yeah, I would just like to go through the introduction to Sami Tamimi and yeah, also Ottolenghi. It's really nice. It just sort of covers kind of like a bit about Ottolenghi, and here he looks really young here actually, you know. And so if you think of 2008, that's actually 17 years ago, so it's yeah, nearly 2 decades. So yeah, it's quite a long time ago. So Sami Tamimi, he did actually start off in Jerusalem, hence the book Jerusalem. He met Ottolenghi there and worked in a really high-end restaurant in Jerusalem. But he actually moved around. He went from Jerusalem to, I think it was Amsterdam in Holland, and then he moved over to London. He now actually has two homes. I think he lives in Umbria in Italy, and then also has a home in London. But let's go back to his history. Yeah, so he was born to Palestinian parents, and if you follow his social media platforms, you can really see how painful it is for his support for Palestine and what they're going through with the war at the moment, which is really quite harrowing, really, especially when it comes to famine with young children and families. Yeah, so I mean, let's go back to his time. So it was a small and intimate, closed society at the time of his upbringing, literally existing within the ancient city walls. People could have lived their entire lives with these confines, where Muslims shared a minute space with Arab Christians and Armenians, where food was always plentiful on the street. And it's really interesting to see how, you know, there's so much history with the Palestinians and also the food and the culture and togetherness. So in a place where religion is central to so many, ours was a non-religious household. Although Arab culture and traditions were important at home and are still very much part of my sight, I did not have the identity that comes with a strong belief. I found it hard to know where I belonged, and this was something I could not talk about at home. From an early age, Sami Tamimi was interested in cooking and would spend hours in the kitchen with his mother and grandmother, and you often hear him recite many recipes from his family life and how he's learned these recipes. See that all the way through. So cooking was a focus and daily life for Sami and formed the main part of most women's lives. Men did not cook, and at least not like women did. His father, however, loved cooking for pleasure alone, whilst his mother cooked to share experience with her friends and the food of the family. I believe he inherited both his father's love of food and his mother's love of feeding people. Some of his earliest memories are with his father squatting on the floor preparing food in the traditional Arab way, and he took endless trouble over preparation, as did his mother, where she would spend hours rolling perfect vine leaves and stuffed with lamb and rice so thin and uniform they looked like green cigars. I remember my mother's kitchen before a wedding when a group of friends and relatives gathered together to prepare for the event. It seemed as if there was enough food to feed the whole world. And that's the one key thing that you notice with sort of Middle Eastern, Far Eastern sort of cultures, that they do plenty of food, and this is kind of like what the mezes are about. Plentiful, lots of selection, almost like a feast. So his father was the food buyer, and he only mentioned his name at the shop selling freshly roasted coffee beans and got a bag of Hassan's mix. Dad used to cook home with boxes piled high with fresh fruit and vegetables. When he was 15, he got his first job as a kitchen porter at the Mount Zion Hotel. This is the lowliest and hardest job in the kitchen, where he ran around after everybody, and he was lucky that the head chef saw his potential and encouraged him to cook. By then, he was cooking at home all the time, making meals, and he knew that this was what he wanted to do in life from a very young age. It meant making the break from the Arab old city and entering Israeli life on the other side of the walls. He wanted to cook and explore the world outside, and Israeli culture allowed him to do that. And he made a move to Tel Aviv in 1989 and worked in various catering jobs for becoming assistant head chef at Lif, one of the best restaurants in the city at that time. He served fresh produce, lightly cooked on a massive grill. As he was entranced by this mix of Californian and Mediterranean cuisines, it was there that he truly discovered his culinary identity and confidence. And he moved to London in 1997, where he was offered a job at Baker and Spice. During his 6 years there, it reshaped the section, introducing a variety of dishes with a strong Middle Eastern edge. This became his style. Only then did he realise how much of his cooking was about recreating the dishes of his childhood. So what a lovely sort of introduction, and that was 17 years ago in this book. But it was actually the Jerusalem cookbook, which actually is a timeless classic. And if you do not have this, it is absolutely essential, and I've actually done a cookbook review of that, so do check that out. Also, Palestine, he co-authored with Tara Wigley. Or you can also follow these people as well on their Instagram. But Sami Tamimi does have his own social media platforms, but what I do love about that is he's so humble and so genuine, and I really do recommend for you to follow him, because he's not really one for the limelight, not bothered about being famous. He just loves the core, really passionate about his cooking, so do follow that. But yes, I really want to get on to his new book, Boustany, which came out in June 2025. Yes, that was an interesting insight about Sami Tamimi in the Ottolenghi book, but a bit about the author, kind of like in his new Boustany book. It just sort of gives you an update from when he came to London. And then 2002, Sami partnered with Yotam Ottolenghi, whom he met and worked with at Baker and Spice and Gnome Bar, to open first Ottolenghi deli in Notting Hill. The company has since expanded to more locations in London, including 5 delis and 2 restaurants, Nopi and Rovi. At Ottolenghi, Sami and Yotam created a concept that has proven a huge success from day one, serving trademark savoury foods and pasties, providing catering and running 2 busy restaurants in central London. Over the years, Sami was in charge of food creativity and nurturing younger chefs around the company. Yes, so Sami and Yotam have written 2 critically acclaimed cookbooks, Ottolenghi and Jerusalem, the latter winning many awards, which is really understandable, including the International Book Award from the James Beard Foundation in 2013. Jerusalem has been credited with starting many cookbook clubs all over the world, which I see also on Instagram and some of the following, including me. So yeah, it's through Ottolenghi and Sami's work that has really inspired me to create my own YouTube channel during lockdown. Sami's third cookbook, Palestine, is co-authored with Tara Wigley and was the winner of the Fortnum and Mason Cookbook of the Year in 2021, the James Beard Award nominee 2022, the IACP Award winner, and long-listed for the Art of Eating Prize 2021. Sensational. So yes, Boustany, the much anticipated cookbook by Sami Tamimi solely, and it's about time. We've been waiting for something from Sami for quite some time now, and his last book was actually Palestine, which was done with Tara Wigley, which was an absolutely brilliant collaboration. This is the first book really where he's not done anything with the collaboration of Ottolenghi. Boustany is actually Arabic for like a garden. So it really is an inspiration about celebrating vegetables and plant-based food. So this is an absolutely tremendous book for me because it's really going to support kind of like the lifestyle that I've been promoting, which is cooking from scratch and plant-based food. Yeah, I mean, I'm always adapting these recipes anyway, and I do prefer to do them sort of dairy free where I can. Let's delve into this absolutely wonderful book. So the contents of this book, first of all, it goes into pantry, which is pickles, condiments and spice mixes, and you will find that some of these recipes have already been covered in some of the other books, in particular Palestine, things like shatter, which is a fermented chili. But I think it's really important to have these because these flavour bombs, these things you can make in advance, are really supportive to a lot of other recipes. And sort of things that I've really learned from Ottolenghi and Sami Tamimi is kind of like doing these things because it makes cooking in the week when you don't have much time much easier. And this is really kind of like the sensational side of this, where you've sort of foraged and made things and fermented things in advance. Chapter is breakfast and brunch, small plates and spreads, salads, soups, weekday dinners, sharing and special occasions to almost give you that sort of inspiration with the mezzi dishes, and then it ends with making some of your own bread and then sweets. So yes, so on the first page here it welcomes you to Boustany, which actually means my garden in Arabic. So you can see Sami here with his two lovely dogs, and you can see here it just sort of tells you how he's come about doing his book. Sami and his partner actually moved to Umbria during the lockdown, where I think they were just wanting to do a visit for a holiday during the COVID moments, but actually ended up getting a home out there, and that's where he sort of kind of like had some sort of time out to sort of have a moment of reflection, to review his career and his aspirations and work to date. And I think this is really part of kind of like doing this book, and he was sort of putting it all together. Yeah, he's probably realised that he's not really in the limelight as much as Ottolenghi, and actually realised in the person he is and how humble he is in his approach. And his food is just so warm and genuine, and it's just really inspiring to see the work he's done, and also give the twist of actually Palestinian food. And this is something now, especially in these moments now, that we really want to almost celebrate, remind ourselves of kind of like what the Palestinian people are all about. And this is a testament to Sami and his work. So it just says here he sort of, it was a pivotal moment when he was looking through his career the past 2 decades managing the operations side of Ottolenghi, and he has a lot of respect for his time working for Ottolenghi. But when in Umbria, he was cooking to soothe himself and pondering on the idea of Boustany. The tranquility of the Italian countryside provided a perfect backdrop to the introspection and culinary experimentation. And cooking was therapy, and that's what I like about his food. You see some of his videos, he's always cooking with a smile on his face, and always just passion really sort of oozes out in his recipes. It comes so natural to him, which is just wonderful. So he's created a lot of recipes about weaving together the stories, memories and emotions that each dish encapsulates, and the recipes developed a reflection of his roots. Boustany became more than just a collection of recipes. It was a journey of self-discovery and a celebration of the connections forged through food. This book is a tribute to the beauty of culinary exploration and the profound impact it can have on our lives. It is a testament to finding solace and inspiration in the kitchen, even during the most challenging times, which are actually obviously getting worse with what's happening. The book is the culmination of a lifetime of cooking and planning, though the actual work of writing the recipes became only in recent years. Boustany takes you on a journey that tells the story of the food of the homeland, Palestine, with a fresh approach, and it provides an insight into the dishes that go back over and over again, their recipes and context and stories behind them. So let's get into the book. Oh, dear me. Harvey's going to get up in a shot in a minute because he's just realised that Mummy is home. Where's Mummy? So looking into the book, it really does go into kind of like the Palestinian cuisine, so the people, the place, the book itself, and kind of like going into his family and how sort of they eat in terms of snacks and how they eat throughout the day. But what is so nice about this book, it's very much like the other books. It's published by Ebury Press. The quality of the books are fantastic, really lovely, sort of glossy, colourful photos, and that's one really key thing for me about these books, is that it pretty much has a photo for every recipe that is done, and that is great because it almost just gives you an insight to what, not just what the finished product looks like, but also the preparation. And that's almost kind of like what you see here. You know, he's showcasing some of the really good ingredients, but then also the preparation and how it comes together, which is superb. Starts off with the pantry, looking at the things to make in advance, and this section here is covered in the pickles, and then Lebna, which is actually a dairy sort of a dip, which is lovely. It's almost got a really nice sourness to it. And then looking at the condiments, which are absolutely essential things to have in. I've actually covered some of these in my YouTube videos already, actually from Palestinian and Jerusalem cookbooks. Also some spice mixes, which I'm really looking forward to doing. I have actually got a playlist for making your own spices, but there's 3 really cool ones here, and I've actually not made these yet. I'm really looking forward to doing these. There's nothing better than making spices at home yourself, where you buy the whole spices, you heat them up over a hot pan, and you grind them, and it just releases those essential oils, which are just fantastic. So one really good spice is Baharat, which is absolutely tremendous. It's got 2 variations here, a sweet Baharat and then just a normal one. Also Dukkha, which is amazing. It's got about 15 different spices in there, which also is great for health. So yeah, quick makdu, which is a preserved aubergine in olive oil, and then an easy pickled baby aubergine, pickled fresh za'atar with chili and lemon, and then lebna, a burnt chili salsa, amazing. And you can make these just in an instant. And then this is an absolutely essential thing to make, and I've actually got a couple of jars of this going myself. So if I go to the supermarket and I see a load of reduced chilies, I always buy these and make my own fermented chili, which is what the Middle East and Palestine call shatter. And you can do this with green or red chilies, or you can just mix them both together. And all you do here is you pretty much get your quantity of chilies, and you either chop them up or you blend them, add in a percentage of salt and allow that to ferment over so many days, and then you top that up with an apple cider vinegar, and also you just create a layer over the top with some nice extra virgin olive oil just to seal it. And it's an absolutely amazing recipe. And fermented chilies is done in many different ways all over the world in different cuisines, but yeah, this is their variation of that, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And then some of these wonderful condiments actually are used throughout the whole of the book as well. So the green lemon sauce is absolutely amazing, actually used later in the book in the variation of polenta, which is an absolute sensational dish. I've made that. I'm just going to put a photo. I'm going to cover that recipe in the future. A red pepper paste, I mean, just look at this, wonderful. This is like a kind of like sumac pickled red onion. I've actually done this with hibiscus. I've covered the recipe, do check that out, it's amazing. And making your own tahini sauce, the sumac onions, as you can see there. This is sensational as well, a toasted nuts and seed. I've actually covered a variation of that from the Palestinian cookbook, which is wonderful, the Gazan Dukkha. I like how you've got the interpretation in. So yeah, as we discussed earlier, the Bahra, then we go on to breakfast and brunch, and just look at the quality of the pages is wonderful. So here it covers the braised eggs with pita, bread and tomatoes and za'atar, the Gazan broad bean falafel, and then it shows you how this is made in the preparation, and also eating with some hummus, the crushed lentils with tahini and soft boiled eggs, the aubergine and fava beans with eggs, the cardamom pancakes with tahini, halva and carob. Look at that, wonderful. Courgettes and leek, I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's like an Arabic frittata. Scrambled eggs and burnt chili cherry tomato toast. And what I really like about this is it just shows you 3 different variations of kind of like how you can do a lovely topping on toast. One using sort of broad beans, one using chickpeas, and then one which is this scrambled egg, the herby crushed pea with avocado toast, and then the feta shaved cucumber and dukkha toast. And there you can see the page with all the variations to have on like a sourdough toast. And I've actually tried a couple of these, which are absolutely wonderful. And then we go on to the small plates and spreads, which is just absolutely wonderful. Just the use of fresh produce, all plant-based, wonderful. Green kishk, which is a fermented yogurt and bulgur, chunky aubergine mat tabal, roasted vegetables with lemon and za'atar, crushed butter beans with orange macadoo and mint. Look at that, absolutely wonderful. A chopped salad for every occasion, and then a gazawi, tahini and chopped salad, green beans and leek and tomato. And this is, look at this, it's wonderful. This is roasted chickpeas and coriander tahini, a tomato rocket and walnut salad, and it shows you the produce and the finished article with some lovely sort of decor plate, tahini, tomato and mint dip, a fermented turnip tops, and I really love locally sort of forage foods and fermentation, which is also something I'm very passionate about. Braised chard and crispy onions and sumac, and then we go on to salads. Here you can see almost like a grapefruit salad, but this is the garlic infused broccoli and Lebanon dip, beetroot with cumin, Lebanon roasted toasted nuts and sesames and chives. Shows the presentation here, which is absolutely wonderful. Crushed broad beans with goat cheese and preserved lemon salsa. Look at that, absolutely wonderful. Roasted aubergine with tomato and pomegranate and herbs. Watermelon cucumber salad and feta and lemon verbena. Look at that. Fridge raid fattoush. Fattoush is kind of like a sort of pita bread which has just been toasted, mixed into salad. Cucumber feta yogurt with dill, almonds and rose. Roasted asparagus with feta and almonds and mint. Bitter leaves, fennel and orange salad. And then this here, if I've done this, it's absolutely amazing. It's like a roasted cauliflower, turmeric, chickpeas and lemon yogurt. Fried aubergine mabtabal with tomato and coriander salsa. Fennel kohlrabi and coriander salad. It also recommends how you to serve these. This is recommends to serve with a 2-lentil mer jajra, which is kind of like a lentil kind of dish, which is a wonderful staple. Tomato za'atar and sumac salad, very simple but amazing. Roasted cauliflower with tahini and crushed tomatoes, and then we go into soups. So yes, the very first one, chilled tomato and avocado soup with burnt chili, and then red lentil dried mint and lemon soup, Jerusalemite Armenian yogurt soup, and then yes, it's on the market because I've actually covered this and it is sensational, and it's the chilled tabbouleh soup, absolutely brilliant. So do check out that video there. Sweet corned bean and green cabbage soup, Swiss chard and maftul soup, bulgur wheat dumpling and lentil soup. So healthy but so flavoursome. You can see here, always with a smile on his face, cooking at home. The lemony spinach soup with satay breadcrumbs, great innovation there. Freckle and vegetable soup, and then we go on to weekday dinners. So fried halloumi with purslane salad, wonderful illustrations, artichoke and potato and olive oil and preserved lemon, the 2-lentil majra, and you can see here that's the majra there. It's covered that in the Falastin book as well, but it's a different kind of variation. Carrots and tamarind and mint, broad beans with lemon and coriander, Palestinian egg and chips, aubergine and chickpeas with green lemon sauce, and then it shows you what it looks like. Loader sweet potatoes with black eyed peas, celeriac and tomato bake, rice and lentils wet pilaf. It shows you just kind of like the capers here, which is wonderful. Pointed cabbage and tahini bil siniya, I say that. And then we move on to sharing and special occasions. This shows you kind of like some of those sort of feasts, the really sort of showcase recipes to do, and I've done this one. This is the freckle stuffed peppers, absolutely amazing. Jerusalem also covers some wonderful stuffed vegetable recipes. The tomato kuberneya, grilled vegetable sandwiches, lentil fata, maftul with tomato, okra and yogurt. Okra is a wonderful vegetable to have, some amazing textures. As you can see here, this is sort of showcasing the vegetable. Sweet potato kuba with chili salsa, which again uses some of the condiments at the beginning. This is what it looks like. Bulgur kuba, asparagus leek and hazelnut gelette, absolutely amazing. Couscous fritters and preserved lemon yogurt, the uzi phyllo parcels, roast aubergine fata. Then we move on to the section with bread, and this really does just show you how to make sort of Palestinian inspired recipes. Jerusalem sesame bread nest, pan fried turmeric bread, fenugreek and onion buns, za'atar and anise crackers, cheese and jam pie done in like a kind of like a bun with sort of sesame topping, oregano and cheese loaf, wholemeal bread, but, you know, done in sort of the Middle Eastern style with oregano. Absolutely wonderful. Roasted bread with tomato and sour grapes, egg, onion and feta open pie, cheese and sumac bites. Then we get finally, last but not least, sweets. Here he covers apricot and orange almond cake, spice apple, walnut and lemon cake, pan-baked tahini and Hawaiian and coffee brownie. Wow. Chocolate date bars, date and Nigella seed rolls. So yeah, sweets, but just really kind of like really authentic, not overly processed either. Anise and sesame rusks, lemon and pistachio cookies, tahini rice pudding with grape compote, mango and salted seeds parfait. Look at them, look absolutely wonderful. Caraway and nut pudding, sumac roasted plums with cardamom cream and pistachio. Can't wait to cover this with my plums, which are really ripe now, which will be ready to pick in a couple of weeks. So I'm really going to look forward to doing that. Look at that, wonderful. Labneh and pomegranate ice cream, coconut rose and chocolate truffles, ashtar kanafe pie, see there. And it ends with kind of like a glossary looking into some of the kind of like the terminology, some of the sort of an insight into the things that were almost unknown to a lot of people, including myself. And then obviously the index, and then last but not least, something about the author, and also a nice little acknowledgement as always. So yeah, absolutely do recommend for you to get this book. It's absolutely sensational. I would give this a really solid 9 out of 10. It's well worth getting. Additional to his other books, really good to finally see that him bring out his solo book. So yes, really hope you enjoyed this video. Really interested in hearing your comments. What's your favourite recipes from this amazing book? Open up the dialogue. Really interesting to hear your thoughts. Really looking forward to covering some more recipes of this. I'll put the playlist here for you to see those. Also, please do subscribe. Lots of love and passion going into my channel and also my videos. I've covered over 200 videos now of various cookbook reviews and recipes. So really hope you enjoyed this video. Take care everyone.